Hey, it's another edition of Coffee with the Goose. You know, we talk about things that are interesting, fascinating, and irritating. I'm the Goose. Glad you joined me again. Back to boxing this time. Got a huge championship fight coming up this weekend in San Antonio, Texas. But before we get going, of course, we have to have our coffee. I've only had a little this morning, so I really got to get the motor running. My coffee, as you know, very strong, like my opinion. And of course, I have to have some creamer in there to make it sweet. Oh, so sweet, just like me. All right, and I'm excited about this fight. Now, before I start making predictions, I'm going to eat some humble pie, as they say. Yeah, I'd like to think I know as much about boxing as anybody, but I think 3 of my last 4 predictions fell hard, really hard. One of them was the Manny Pacquiao fight against Ugas last year. I was wrong on that one. And then the Jonas Sultan fight not long ago. I was wrong on that one. And one other one I can't remember. So I'm on a bad streak. Although I did predict the last Mark Magsayo fight correctly. And that's who's going to fight this weekend. The Magnifico, the world WBC featherweight champion of the world from Bohol in the Philippines, will be defending his crown for the first time against another undefeated fighter, this time a Mexican fighter, Rey Vargas, who is, again, undefeated, 35-0. So let's break it down and see what these two guys are all about, and then come up with some kind of prediction, as weak as my predictions are lately. Mark Magsayo is he's a lot of fun to watch. He is a slugger. Now that doesn't say, I'm not saying he doesn't have boxing skills. Of course he does. He's a professional. He's 24-0 with 16 KOs, and he won the featherweight title in January with a decision victory over Gary Russell Jr. Russell had been champion for several years, and there's a few misconceptions about Magsayo's victory over Russell. One is, well, Russell fought half the fight with one arm, and Russell claims he still won the fight. Well, he didn't. And Russell, I respect him. Great fighter, no doubt, and he'll probably be back for more. But let me clear things up for you who doubted and continue to doubt Magsayo's victory over Russell. How did he get the injury to his shoulder? Well, Magsayo did it to him with a punch. And that was, I believe, the 3rd or 4th round. And look back at the fight. Up until that point, who was winning? Who was getting the better of the battle? It was Magsayo. So don't tell me that Russell would have won without the injury. Magsayo caused the injury. And Russell, he's a game opponent, did his best. And, it was a decision victory. And people say that Russell still beat him. Well, look at the CompuBox numbers. Magsayo landed about twice as many punches as Russell did. So even if he did fight with one hand for half the fight, he still only landed half the number of punches. Magsayo won that fight, no doubt about it. So let's move on now. Magsayo, 27 years old. He's 5'6.5", I believe, with a 68-inch reach, and he's good. There's no doubt, and he's scary. We've seen him, over the years. He's an intimidating fighter. He's coming at you. He's coming forward, and he's looking to take your head off. The last 2 fights before the Russell encounter, 2 fights last year, were both knockouts in favor of Magsayo. So he's on a roll. And he's a very confident, very capable fighter. Let's look at his opponent. It's Rey Vargas from Mexico. He's 31 years old. He's a very accomplished champion, 35-0 with 22 KOs. He's a 7-time national champion in the amateur ranks in Mexico. And he is the former super bantamweight champion of the world. He held that crown from 2017 to 2020, and then decided to move up in weight to the featherweight division. Now there's, give him a pat on the head for that. A lot of respect for moving up in weight. But there's always the danger, of course, when you're not used to facing an opponent who's been fighting in that weight class his entire career, or most of his career, as Mark Magsayo has. Now, Vargas is 5'10" and a half, so he has an decided height advantage and a reach advantage as well, 70.5 inches. And he uses that to his advantage. He's very good at creating space and distance in his favor. He's a great, very good with his hands, with jabs. He doesn't have your typical Mexican fighter, if there is such a thing. He's an orthodox fighter, but he's not the aggressive, coming at you looking for the knockout, even though he's had 22 KOs. Let's look a little deeper into these two boxers and see, once you start to unpackage these statistics, you begin to learn a little bit more about them, what they're capable of, and what, maybe they're not the big bad wolf, as it turns out. I said Magsayo, his last two fights before the Russell fight, he had knockouts. What about Rey Vargas? Well, his last knockout was 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. He's not a knockout artist, even though he has 22, and he's only had one fight in almost 3 years. And that makes a huge difference. You can spend all the time you want sparring, but until you get in the ring in live action, your adjustments, your quickness, you lose a little something. So we'll see if that's going to be the case with Vargas. Who knows? How about the competition, the resume? In this case, Magsayo's resume is quite a bit better than Rey Vargas. He's fought several very capable and very other good fighters with good records. I mean, yeah, of course, most fighters at the beginning of their career fight other guys with very little experience, and then you build from there. But looking at Rey Vargas's record, 9 of his victories have come against boxers with 500 records or less. So he's not fighting all great fighters. Look at his resume and you'll see that. And 9 of his opponents have had 7 losses or more. So he really hasn't fought top-notch competition. He's fought some good fighters, no doubt about it, but not to the degree that Magsayo has. And we'll see whether that has an impact in the fight in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas on Saturday night. So what do these two guys have to do to win the victory? I've seen a lot of assessments in different YouTube channels, and most people agree this is a pick-em fight. It's really going to be hard to make a prediction on who's going to win. I think most people agree that if it goes to a decision, Rey Vargas will get the victory. But if it doesn't go the distance, Magsayo will take him out. So what does Vargas have to do to win? As I mentioned, he has to continue to take advantage of his reach and height advantage. He's very good at that. He's he has the orthodox and all the fundamentals now. He's very, very good. He's been around a long time, 35 pro fights. And he cannot get into a slugfest with Mark Magsayo. That's not a good idea for anybody. And he has to, frustrate Magsayo. He's capable of doing that. And we'll see how he takes advantage of those skills that he has. Magsayo, on the other hand, has several advantages. His strength, he's a much harder puncher than Vargas, and he's been in the featherweight division for quite a while. He's quicker. His hands are quicker. He may not be as good on his feet, but he is much quicker with his hands, and he throws more combinations. And even though he's an orthodox fighter, meaning right-handed, the left hook of Mark Magsayo is devastating. So he's coming at you from both sides. When we talk about professionals in boxing at the championship level, it's more than just skills. It's what do you got up here? Yeah, you have to have heart. You have to have the fundamentals down. But in the end, you have to come up with a game plan that suits your competition. Both of the trainers for both of these guys are very, very good. But Magsayo has the advantage there too. Freddie Roach, the great Hall of Fame trainer, he's trained many different, like over a dozen, maybe 24 different champions. That's how experienced Freddie Roach is, including Manny Pacquiao, of course, and Coach Marvin. So it's all about coming up with a game plan. And then also, don't forget this, it's just as important as coming up with an initial game plan is the adjustments. You have to change your style as the fight progresses. If plan A isn't working, you better have a plan B and maybe even a plan C, and you have to make the adjustments because don't forget, your opponent is a professional and he's in there with his own game plan. He knows what your weaknesses are and your strengths. So it's that's going to be interesting to see how this fight progresses. I've often said that when you're watch boxing, at least at the championship level in pro boxing, you know pretty much by the third or fourth round who's going to win that fight or who has the decided advantage. And that may be the case here. We will see. Am I going to make a prediction? Yeah, I really don't. I'm really nervous about this. It's a pick 'em fight. Vargas can frustrate Magsayo. How will Magsayo respond? He said himself, even though he's not a trash talker, he's very respectful. He said if Vargas doesn't run, if he doesn't run much, it's going to be a KO. He's going to knock him out. I agree. And eventually, Vargas, he has pride. He's not going to run the whole fight. Yeah, he'll take advantage of the reach and his the skills that he has, but Magsayo's going to have his moments. Will those be? Will he take advantage when he hurts him, when he buzzes him, when he stuns him? Yes, that's Magsayo has a killer instinct. He knows when his opponent is hurt, and he goes in for the kill. He does not play around. I'm nervous about making a prediction though because Vargas is very, very good. Both these guys have been around a while. They have a lot of experience against good fighters, and like I said, even with Vargas, even though his professional resume isn't that great, his opponents aren't that great. He's a 7-time national champion in the amateur ranks, so he's don't disrespect him. I'm going to say, it's easy to say that Vargas will win in a decision. Vargas will win if it doesn't go the distance. I am going to go out on a limb and say Magsayo's going to win this fight. Knockout? I don't know. There's a good chance he will. But I'm going to give Magsayo the edge in this fight. Let me know if you think I'm crazy. If you don't, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, hey, that's fine. I'm up for that. I'm a big boy. I can handle your criticism. So let me know what you think. You think Magsayo has what it takes to defeat this fellow undefeated champion in Rey Vargas, or does Vargas just have too much? Let me know. That's it for this edition of Coffee with the Goose. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing. We got a lot more subscribers than I ever thought we'd get. So thank you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you like the show and if you think I need to make adjustments in my game plan, let me know. I'm open to all of your suggestions. That's it for this edition of Coffee with the Goose. Thanks so much for watching, guys. You take care.